Hey everyone, welcome back to Hangoutlander. I'm Nikki, and we are talking about Outlander episode 407, Down the Rabbit Hole this week. I'm Nikki, and I'm joined by a lovely panel of folks. Let's go around and introduce ourselves. I made myself a nice spritzer in this leftover Starbucks cup from lunch because I'm going to leave after this, and so there's no alcohol in this. But anyhow, Beth, why don't you say hi?
Hello, everybody. I'm Beth. I'm in my Christmas robe because that's how this episode made me feel, like I needed to be comfy. I'm having pop kettle corn and a very generous pour of this Malbec. Like if I get through this, it's going to be a very interesting night. And a bunch of Hershey Kisses. I'll try not to chomp. Anyway, that's what I'm having tonight. Hello. Becca, say hi.
A lot of nice snacks. I'm Becca. I'm drinking a whiskey, which is the easiest thing to get to. Never a good idea, especially when I have to get up early on a Tuesday, but whatever. Excited to talk about this episode. I watched it very late last night and I have less thoughts than the rest of you. Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I am once again drinking tea, but this cold this week, not willow bark to be confused. And I also have a lot to say, and I'm excited to see what everyone else has to say.
All right, Lachey, say hello.
And yes, Lachey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lachey. Thanks to That's Normal for having me back again. Have a lot of thoughts about the episode. Can't wait to get into it. I'm drinking a Stella Artois because the guy at the store told me that it was just as good as a Guinness Blonde, but he lied. It's not. But what I have, so I'm going to go ahead and drink it.
We're so glad that you're joining us this week. I got a DM from Lachey this week. She was like, this episode. And I was like, come talk about it with us. We would love to have you. So she's here and we're very excited. Guys, if you've been online this week, you've noticed there's some chatter about this episode amongst the fans. The Barbs and the Stans and the shippers and everybody has thoughts. And we have thoughts. And we want to hear your thoughts. So if you're on the YouTube chat, hi, there's a bunch of you in there. And if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag Hangoutlander and we will talk to you there as well. And we are actually going to take this conversation scene by scene instead of feeling by feeling because we all have lots of feelings. We need to just parse them out gently as we go. And so this episode opens with Brianna making a PB&J. Anybody have anything to say about that stupid PB&J?
No.
It was lame.
It was lame.
You should have packed a whole lot more.
It was so messy. Clean off that freaking knife before you cut it because now you got jelly on the outside.
Oh, and now I was like, come on, clean off the edge.
I don't even
supposed to
have
wipe
OCD.
it down on the bread.
Or at least like lick it or something. Yeah, if it's yours.
In case anybody, I'm going to beat us to the comments because we get negative comments. And this is, yes, drunk girls discuss PB&J. So that could be your comment for this week, haters.
Yeah.
That's fine. I just beat you to it. That's what this is. It's what you're watching.
If you ever want to see some hater comments, just look at Hangoutlander comments after we're done because the Barbs come in and remind us that we're not fans, apparently, even though we're talking about this.
And I'll have to say this. If you do like Hangoutlander, go to iTunes and review us because we have like 2 reviews and they're so mean. And it's just like the most bitchy people that have ever listened to our podcast ever. And they're like, idiots. And we're smart. I don't know what you're talking about, but those are mean. And it hurts my heart. And I think that we need better reviews. So go to iTunes and review us nicely, please. Thank you. And anyway, PB&J, dumb. Also, it was whole later on when she ate it and it was cut in the beginning.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh, come on. There's someone's job is for like
Continuity.
Continuity.
The script supervisor,
Yeah.
that's their job. And she did not pay attention.
She/he should have literally had a photo, but whatever.
But still, even at this point, I was like, not quite the same area, but okay, different location. We'll roll with it.
We were still trusting. We were trusting. They've gotten it right on the last a couple of the few episodes. So, you just have to lend yourself.
The beginning of this episode, I was into it. I thought, this is going to go a place that I can go. Watching Brie go through the wilderness, right? It was fine. Although, isn't Craig Nadoon near Inverness?
Near a town.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
it's near
what
a
I
town.
thought.
So you would think there would be like carts or someone on a horse or Brianna on a horse.
It looked like Middle Earth. Like there was nothing.
Well, there
And
wasn't
that's
even a
not-
hobbit if it was Middle Earth. Like
I didn't understand why she was in so much wilderness. When Claire goes through the stones, she's like near Inverness, and she comes
Right.
across people immediately.
Right.
And
And she buys a
doesn't make
horse.
and she had a map.
Yeah, she had a
Yeah.
map, and it was literally like had to be hundreds, 500 miles maybe, how long it was. I was like, how is she going to make it? Like, this does not seem smart, girl. And isn't Inverness like not that far from the coast? I'm pretty sure it's not too far.
Now it would have taken her a while to get to the coast, I think. I mean, it's not too far from the coast, but it still would have taken her a long time on foot to get there. It wasn't. It's not like on the. It's not on the coast. Like it's not a coastal town.
Yeah, no, they literally made it look like she was like in the northernmost part of Scotland, going all the way down to like the border of England or something.
Right. Dumb. But okay, so she falls down and she hurts her ankle. Fine. Whatever. It mirrors Claire falling down right after she leaves the stones. Although I saw somebody like put those together in GIFs, and like Claire's fall is really good. Like that was Katrina's like first episode. She's like off to the side, like doing this like cool like physical thing, and Brianna just like doesn't do that, and it wasn't as cool. But I'm fine with her falling down. But why does the girl not pick up like a stick, like for a crutch?
Again, at this point, I'm saying to myself, if she had a horse, she might not have fallen.
If she had gone to Inverness,
Breeks would have been good.
Yeah. She could have gone to Inverness, purchased a horse, and gone because Inverness.
Right. Exactly. And not taking forever to get to wherever it was she was trying to get to, which I'm not even sure she knew, because she just seemed to be walking forever. And then when she finally got someplace, it wasn't even a town. It was like a house. Yeah. So anyway.
I feel like the book Brie was far more better prepared to go through the stones, and we don't even know what she did.
People are saying on the comments like that in the book she was on horseback, and then put her hood up. Where were her gloves? Where did she get the money? Like lots of questions here.
She had to have been freezing.
Yeah, she was freezing. Everyone was talking about how unprepared. One of the comments I loved on the recap this week, I can't remember who it was, but she said, Brie is such like a capable character. She can take care of herself, all of this. And then the first minute in, she falls and hurts herself. She's having to get help, getting to wherever she's going. And then we have Roger. He's totally fine, makes it to the coast. He's fine. So we have the man. He made it. But the woman, we changed to have all the problems along the way. It's like, oh, yeah, that's right. They did that.
And they did that. That's kind of the theme of this particular episode as we talk about it, is the writers did that. That's not the way this story is supposed to go.
Right.
Because Brie is capable. Like she does make it to Lallybroch, and she does like get what she needs in a normal, capable way. She made a fire.
The kind of person that carries a Swiss Army knife always.
Right.
Always has one on her.
She's a horse girl.
With a horse, you would think she would be able to figure out how to wrap her ankle. Like you said, get a stick, make it a little bit easier going, since she actually, did hurt herself. Figure out how to burrow so she wouldn't be freezing the way she apparently was. I don't know. It's just, no.
Even like, I felt like making a fire is the hardest part of survival, because that can be really tough. Even if you have matches, making a fire is hard. And she did that like a pro, but like nothing else. No other survival instincts. One sandwich. One.
Yeah.
In that big thing, it could have held a trapper keeper, and it would just had one sandwich in it and a book of matches.
She could have used the Swiss Army knife. Totally could have used
the bag was literally like this big. It had one thing of matches, one map, one compass, one baby sandwich that was very thin, nothing in the middle, and that was it. Like,
I would have been hungry as soon as I came to the stones. That sandwich would have been gone. I can't believe she held out for a whole 24 hours.
Purely Amused says, I've never met such a dumb kid of a doctor. And then people are reminding us that Linda, I think, that she wore pants through the stones because it shocked her cousin.
Yeah.
Jamie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
She was
Jamie.
wearing hands
We
on the
Jamie,
horse
got it.
when she
Okay.
showed up.
Right.
They
Right.
all thought she was a boy at first.
It's a big deal. So
Anywho,
we flashed in to Roger on the road with
Without a beard.
Fiona.
The
Right.
worst thing we've ever seen. He didn't have a beard.
And
He
speaking
looked
of
terrible.
hobbits, his pants.
For
He
those
stole them
just
from
cut
a
off,
hobbit.
did he just cut some corduroys off?
It was so
Lord, I don't even know where to
made-
begin. He
I
might
thought
have
he
done
made
some
no
curtains.
sense.
Who knows? They were bad.
Again, someone said in the comments, they were like, oh, did he already know he was going to get like a deckhand job? And he was just like going through the stones, like prepared for like pirate level like work. Like
And why
the
did
whole
he shave
outfit.
his beard?
Because they didn't have beards back then. Like
Oh.
that particular time frame, men wouldn't have had a full beard.
They would
No.
shave? They'd go for a shave? Oh.
It's better
okay.
than facial lice, I
Yeah,
guess.
true.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. Have you ever seen like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin? Like none of
Sure.
those people in that time frame have beards.
Right. So I'm not attracted to Georgie.
But they'll grow hair into like a ponytail.
I didn't
What's-
get his hair. Like he had no sideburns even.
No
and then it was like
sideburns.
real thick back here.
Mm-hmm.
And
was-
thin, like he was balding, which we know he's not, unlike some of the other cast
And
members.
didn't he just have a shirt around his top? Like he just had a shirt tied around his neck.
It was the
Like a sleeve.
I forgot to look at Terry's feed on Sunday, but I was like hoping she just ripped a new one like she did the week before about I didn't do this, and you know how angry she is.
Tell us
But-
if they do YouTubers, because Purely Amused said that Meryl said that the shaving was ridiculous. Meryl said it was based on the hair team's advice.
They have great advice.
Yeah.
We all need to listen to the hair team more often.
They had to go to apology school.
Let's give him bangs. That was their follow-up.
Right.
advice. That always looks good. When
They
you
were like,
see
it
it.
needs to be really heavy back here, nothing up front. That's such an attractive look. That's what we need to go for.
Make it look like a mullet, a bald mullet.
And somebody did point out that like all the Highlanders have beards. So even if they didn't have them back then, like half the
Hey.
cast does.
Angus.
Yeah.
He was like,
That's right. Yeah.
And we
Doesn't
all
work
remember
out.
Jamie's beard after the Bastille. So
I mean, some things don't need to be historical. A beard, I'm sorry, not really like a huge historical moment for me.
if they have to go into so much work just to explain one little thing, then obviously they went too far. Just go on with the storyline.
yes, that's the other thing. Like if you have to come back to me at the end of every episode and explain all of the choices that you made in minute detail, and then tell me that you don't have enough characters on Twitter where you can thread hello to actually explain it, you're a terrible storyteller. And I say that with no love. There's none at all.
You do. Matt, Meryl, all the above.
That's specifically aimed at the executive producers. I mean, they're on Twitter. Like even this official Sony Twitter was chatting with people today and yesterday about the storyline and how and like the choices that they made. The shade dropped out. And it would just if you have to do that, then you didn't do a good job telling that story. So
Yeah, you shouldn't have to be explaining yourselves. You should be spending a time conversing with fans about things that they liked. Like that's what should happen the day after.
think about any other show that you watch when that happens, when the show is over, what you're getting from producers and things like that online are the exciting moments and how they put it together and like, hey, Lachey, glad you're back. So like you're getting like, oh, well, this is how we did the dragons. And you know, you're getting like really cool little behind the scene tidbits that make it more rich. You're not getting like, well, we had to do that because we couldn't do this and we just threw this part together. That's ridiculous. And that's what we're getting from that. Also, when Roger goes through the stones, we hear the buzzing really loudly and he mentions it to Fiona. When was the last time we heard the stones buzzing? Because they didn't buzz for Brianna.
Maybe
And-
Claire in the first season.
I think we
I mean,
must have
it's
heard
been
them
a
at least
while.
once, but it has. Yeah, it's been a while. It's
not consistent for sure.
No. And they make a point to say that, and I don't know why. Either it's going to come back around, or because she's like, I can't travel through the stones, or whatever Fiona says to him when he asks if she hears it.
I didn't understand why we heard it with him and not with Brianna. That didn't make any sense. So those two scenes are so close together.
Did we watch Brianna go through, or she just
2 weeks ago?
we
Yeah, it was
watched
at the
her,
end.
yeah.
Between the
We
last
did.
one and this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it had a big score over it and everything. So
Yeah. Okay, so we go back to Brianna. She's putting her foot in the river or whatever. She's falling down. We've discussed how she's terrible at wilderness. And she falls asleep. She's probably going to die. Like a wolf is going to come get her or something. I don't know if there's wolves in Scotland, but they have those big cats. So something's going to kill her eventually. And she like has this dream, and it's Frank picking her up and getting her out of the car while she's sleeping. And what did we think? What were we
That's pretty much what I did. I went like some very terrible noise.
I think I literally did this.
Yeah, I think I did too.
Yeah.
I had to be quiet, and so I just wrote it out, and I have like, yeah, and there's like the H's going for 2 lines because
It's that serious.
I take my job seriously.
It was such a nice surprise. Like you just weren't expecting it, and to see his face in the middle of, or to begin what was about to be a terrible portion of the story was just such a nice, comforting moment, and a nice moment for her to like think back on.
I was really glad that he was able to find time in his busy schedule to rejoin for one episode.
And
He's
now-
very busy schedule. His Emmy award-winning show that he's on right now, and he had time to like stop.
and
smell
like look
roses.
good again, because he did look good.
He did look good.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, guys, that excitement was about Tobias Menzies. It was not,
For sure. Frank.
not about Frank. And as the episode goes on and we see what's going on with Frank and Brianna, I was more and more irritated that they went there. As much as I love Frank,
really,
and as much as I love Frank, and as much as I think that some of those scenes are important, Frank is not meant to be, his character is not a good enough substitute for Jamie Fraser. Like not in terms of Brianna as a father, that's there, but he's not meant to be that sympathetic. We're not meant to look at him in concert with Leary, and which is what Meryl has been saying all weekend, that they're supposed to be these people who love Jamie and Claire and who weren't loved enough in return. That is not the reality of that character. And
wow. Is that what they said? I didn't look at that. That is so far-fetched.
well, I mean, considering that he had a mistress and everything, I mean, why you would go from one extreme to the other?
Yeah.
That is the question.
Put an S on the end of that because he had more than one over the course of
probably.
their entire marriage.
Yeah, I never was thinking that Frank being on in the episode was really about Claire. I was thinking of it more in relation to him as a father and his relationship with Brianna and her kind of letting go of that and going to be able to open her heart to a different father. That's how I took it and how I really liked it.
But apparently that's not how we were supposed to take it. Because I would agree. I would think that that's what I focused on too.
yeah,
The second time I watched it, it was more after I got over the initial ecstatic moment. I was like, oh wait, this is distracting me from the other crap that isn't happening, that should not be happening, because it's like, oh, this is like off schedule. Oh, Tobias. Like I was like this, the dogs with squirrels. Like it worked though.
Well, I think the mistake in Outlander is that Tobias is such a lovable actor, and therefore we like him as a character. I think we'd probably like Frank more than we would if he was just a whatever character or whatever actor playing him.
it's partially, for me, it's partially that it's Tobias and I love him. And the other part of it is how they write him. They write him specifically to be very saintly.
They do.
Especially in relation to Bree. And that's not the reality of his character. If you really think about what he's doing in this moment, he is fully aware that his wife is going to go back in time and is going to die. He might be aware that Brianna goes back. We don't know, because she might show up in something that he's also seen. Mm-hmm. And instead of dealing with that, because we know he never mentions it to Claire, instead of dealing with that, he chooses to take his daughter and steal her away from her mother on purpose? Like, is he trying to make that reality happen faster for Claire so that he can have his mistress and his daughter and have his cake and eat it too? What is the motivation? And it's not clear enough. All it looks like is that he's distraught that Claire doesn't love him enough to stay with him, and he doesn't know what to do about Brianna. And the reality is he has a mistress he wants to be with. Right. It's none of it is good. It's all bad. The only good thing is that he shows up in Brianna's imagination later on and gives her like a attaboy, you can go off. None of it is positive, and yet it's meant to set a foil against Jamie Fraser, who I have a feeling when Brianna meets him, she's not going to be happy to meet him. She's not going to have any kind of love for him, and that's what this episode should have done. It should have cemented her feeling of familial connection to the Frasers and to Jamie.
Well, and they failed in doing that by bringing this whole Leary storyline when she should have gone to Lollybrock and created those bonds, learned about him as a man so that she could begin to love him as a father. I think you still could have had these flashbacks. We don't know where they're going to go in the future with that storyline. We don't know how much they're going to show of Frank finding all of this information out. Them bringing it out right now may mean he comes back around. I don't actually really have that much faith that they'll do something like that at this point, but
I think that we got major closure on Frank with him giving her that beaming smile at the dock.
And then we die, right? Like, so
yeah.
That's my guess. And I remember seeing, or one of us tweeted or somebody that there's only 5 more episodes. Is that right? Or 4?
Yeah. And it brings up like,
right?
How are they going to, they should have at least met by the end of this episode, like re-met. Like, it's ridiculous that we haven't even gotten there yet. What's the next episode called? Have they released a title?
Yeah. Birds and the Bees? No, Wilmington. It's Wilmington.
Oh.
And then the next one is called Birds and the Bees. I do want to
point out, I'm sorry, really quickly, that this was the only thing that I liked about the episode, is getting confirmation that Frank knew about Claire traveling into the past, because it's not made clear yet in the books. I'm sure it will be at some point, but it's always my question when I finish with the series is, I wonder if Frank found this, and I wonder if he saw that. And this episode at least suggests that the writers think that Frank found the article about the fire. And so I was like, well, that's something. That's something. But otherwise, that was the only part about the episode that I was like, hey, yay, good.
Yeah, I do like that confirmation as well, because it's annoying in the book that you don't know for sure. But it makes him, in my mind, that makes Frank less sympathetic.
Yeah.
In terms of what he wanted to do and how he wanted to steal Bree away. And
there are 6 episodes left, by the way.
Yes.
Am I getting ahead of myself, or didn't he also do something with gravestones?
He put a gravestone down in Scotland, in the churchyard, I think.
Yeah.
That says Jamie Fraser, beloved husband of Claire. He does that for Claire.
Kind of facilitates her going back to the past, is what he does.
So anyway, yay for Tobias. No yay for me, for Frank. Although I love the Frank and Brianna flashbacks. I would have preferred that this episode was juxtaposed with Jamie and Willie. Whether it's like the idea of her being in the wilderness and having to take care of herself versus Jamie showing Willie how to do things in the wilderness, Willie being horrible to Jamie. I really thought last week that the tension of Jamie and Willie, like Willie finding out that he's Mac or realizing that he's Mac, would have meant that he would have treated him badly. And then if that was juxtaposed with Brianna treating Frank badly because he won't give her this information or he's being weird or whatever. But if we're going to have those flashbacks and we're going to be seeing Saint Frank and we're going to be seeing their connection, I would have liked for it to have been more closely juxtaposed with Jamie and with Willie as well. I thought that would have made a more interesting way for them to put it together.
Right. And it would have sped up the story too. We wouldn't have had to
spent forever with her. Yeah.
Well, and with him too. Like it was entirely too long.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. That's why I feel like they don't have like a judicious way to edit. They just it's like minutes of her walking through the forest. Like we don't need that. Like we can get that from a couple seconds. Like don't belabor Leary doing Bible stories. Like get to the point.
That took way too long.
And
I'm sorry. While we're still in these flashbacks, can I just point out that there is no way a native Bostonian would say Harvard the way I say Harvard. So I'm sitting there like, what the hell?
It's
What the hell,
true.
Sophie? Where's your elocution coach?
Or can't
What
you
is going on? Everyone knows Carr and Park and Harvard. What the hell?
Yeah.
My mother-in-law has lived in Texas for 40 plus years, and she still says that all like she just arrived.
Harvard? Or just like her accent in general, like she says she's English, right? Can't she like try to have a little bit of an English accent or something?
No.
Like I could attempt if I needed to.
She was raised by two English parents. Like
Right.
Yeah.
She has an English accent in real life.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, she does that little bit with him when she's like trying to be the psychologist and she does this little English accent. I'm like, it would have behooved them so much to just let her be British because she has, there's so many things that when she's not speaking, when she does a good job, like she's a good actress, a non-speaking actress. And I feel like one of the reasons that you get caught up in the way that she's acting when she's speaking is because she's trying so hard to have this American accent that's so foreign to her. Also, she says the word daddy too much.
Daddy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like 80 times.
adult women using daddy or even mommy it's a little weird to me. A little weird. You're an adult.
We're getting a lot of confirmation on YouTube. People saying that they wish that we spent more time at Lollybrock. Couldn't they have done the Lollybrock stuff with Ian filling in for Jenny's role? That Leary needed to be like 3 minutes max. The Bible stories were pointless. So lots of great comments.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue. We could talk about that now.
Because when Leary shows up and is the one who rescues her.
Talked about that yet. Sorry.
This is good. I mean, I actually liked that Leary had like this moment where she's the one who helps her out. Although the way Leary appears in the book in this moment is far better and far cooler and would have made a much better story.
Way more interesting.
Way more interesting. And the only reason they didn't do it is because they couldn't get Laura Donnelly. Dumb. Come figure it out. They basically said on Twitter that they had to slop this shit together because they couldn't get Laura. That's ridiculous.
You know, my thought was, but you're supposed to be adapting a story, so adapt. You know, switch in another character.
Right.
She has
adult
millions of cousins.
children.
Where were they?
You're telling me that Jenny doesn't have like a bitch daughter who could stand in for her at Lollybrook while she's off doing something? Absolutely she does. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we see this much of Leary. And I like that she rescued her. It was kind of a bit of a surprise. And I do like the fact that she could have this soft side that like lets her be good to a traveler. But when we see Ian at Brockmorda and they're having that conversation, the fact that neither of them says the word Jamie Fraser, the fact that Brianna doesn't recognize Ian Murray as somebody that Claire told her about, the fact that she hasn't figured out what's going on, the fact that Leary hasn't figured out that she looks just like
Jamie Fraser. The fact that she hasn't recognized the name Leary. Excuse me.
Yeah. And the
I
fact
know
that
Claire
Ian
said
didn't
Leary
say
at
his
least
whole last
once
name.
in her recitation.
Yes.
Of what happened to her in the past. That name is so unique. There is no way that she said, I'm Leary, and Brianna something didn't say, hey, I've heard that name before.
Yeah.
Come on.
Because she knows the story and she brings it up later. And the fact Ian doesn't introduce himself to someone he doesn't know, it just wouldn't have happened. The whole thing was dumb, convoluted,
I really expected at that moment for Ian to take her, which would have been fine. Like, why didn't they just have this little moment where Leary is the one who rescues her, but Ian finds her, he takes her. That would happen so fast. That was the first night she was there. It would have been fine. She could have gone
already arguing. They could have switched that scene to that house instead of Lollybrook. They were already arguing.
Well,
Yes.
and not only that, but she's arguing about how little money she has. He's the laird of the land. Let me take your guest in. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, you're Jamie's daughter. Cool, let's go.
I mean, an unreal amount of opportunity for them to get her the fuck out of Brockmorda because there was no reason for her to be there anymore. And it just, then we go into the garden and she's like bonding with Joni and they never mention the stepfather's name. I mean, it's an unreal amount of coincidence. And it was so poorly done that I really don't know any fans that were into it for in any real way. Did y'all see anybody being positive about the storyline as a whole?
No.
Yeah, we got one comment who said they liked it, but they liked it for the reasons we're talking about. Leary is a human. It brought up some sort of conflict, blah, blah, blah. But all of those things could have happened in a much different condensed version than her spending weeks and them tilling the garden and her fixing one window. Like, again, we're going back. You're wasting time. There's nothing that's helping. You're bringing up drama from season 1 at season 4. Please stop.
Right.
Like, you can mention this in the correct setting.
There's a lot of great comments and questions. I don't think anybody likes it in our YouTube comments. And Julie asked an important question if Matt wrote the episode. And I had the same question.
No, it's Shannon Gloss or something. I looked it up. She wrote the Doldrums in season 3.
Oh,
no,
Lord help.
But you know, I just saw
Shannon,
on Facebook, Fit Serve Mom just said, I thought Brianna was supposed to be Jamie's spitting image. How did Leary not see it?
Thank you.
Yes. Lachey had a great point about this. Go ahead and tell it, Lachey.
No, I'm just saying, like, the whole point is that anyone would look at her with her height and her size and her features and would see Jamie Fraser immediately. I mean, Leary looks at her in the book and thinks she is Jamie because she's wearing pants. So why didn't she recognize her in this scene?
Right.
You know?
Lazy.
As a Fraser, at least, if not, you know, Jamie's child, then Jamie's kin, because she looks so much like Ellen. She looks like Ellen Fraser. Ian wouldn't have seen this. It's
ridiculous, especially because it's in a time frame where you don't have like photos and television, and so your brains would remember better what people look like. That's something that like evolutionarily we've lost because we see people in so many different mediums now, but like faces would be imprinted on your brain. They would see her and immediately know it's Jamie. And literally in the book, Leary sees Brianna in pants on a horse going by in the distance and thinks Jamie is home and comes running up to Lollybrook ready to beat his ass. She thinks she's Jamie. It's ridiculous that isn't even remotely on anybody's radar. It's so
that would have been a way more interesting scene.
It is a way more interesting scene.
Yeah.
In the book.
Why didn't
Anytime
they
she
do
can get full on crazy bitch, it's hilarious. Just like when she shot him. I mean, bring it.
And she's a good actor. We don't need to be reminded that she's like a crazy person, or at least do that within a really good storyline. Like we talk forever about adapting stuff that just doesn't work in the book. Don't adapt something that's working.
Right.
Like, all of these things that happen at Lollybrook are necessary to the story. You don't need to change it.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say Purely Amused has a good point on the comments, YouTube comments. And she said, could they stop reminding us that Jamie left Joan behind? They added her hurt and it doesn't serve the story and it only puts Jamie in a bad light. Because she was a really likable little girl and little character. So yeah.
Yeah, the entire point of this, and per Meryl and per her explanation on Twitter, is to make it more sympathetic to Leary and to Joni and to Marsley and to what they got left behind, and to Frank as well, and to mirror Frank and Leary as being these people who were left behind by people who didn't love them enough, as if Leary's love is even remotely pure in terms of how she feels about Jamie. It was opportunistic. 100% opportunistic is why she wanted Jamie Fraser. It had nothing to do with whether or not she loved him. But if you're watching this episode and watching that episode that they did in, was it season 1, where she's at the old Fox's house and Claire comes up and tells Jamie to forgive him. And we were all like, what the fuck? Like, absolutely not. And he like has to forgive Leary because Claire thinks that's the right thing to do. And we're all like, that doesn't make any sense. She's an opportunistic, like, slut. That's just, I mean, not in like a slut shamey way, but just like she has no pure motives with regard to this. None. And this made it sound like she was like purely in love with him because of her girlhood experience. And that is not the case. They didn't have a good marriage. They didn't sit by the hearth and read Bible stories. She wouldn't let him touch her. He moved to Edinburgh as soon as they got married. It's all like this revisionist history on what really happens and what Larry is really like. And it puts in Brianna, who is the character we're going to see go forward, the idea that Jamie Fraser is not an honorable man. That's ridiculous, especially considering that we just saw Frank be Mr. Honorable in some weird way when he's the least honorable of the two. It is incredibly frustrating. And it's just bad writing. Boring writing.
It was horrible.
It's a heavy-handed way to make a character have self-doubts and a lack of confidence when they're supposed to go in and meet this man. Like, you could have done that in a different way. This was not the way to do it.
Yeah. And you're missing out on the fact that Brianna does go to Lollybrook, meet her cousins. She sees the portrait of Ellen.
Yeah.
She goes through this process where she becomes a Fraser in Lollybrook. We see that in the book. The fact that she spends 20 seconds there and she sees cousins bring some a trunk of clothes and that's it is a huge disservice.
And it's not even introduced to anyone.
No, they could have been servants if we didn't know better, if he didn't say anything.
So that scene, whichever season it was, where she's standing in the hallway of the manse and, there's a big Scotland portrait, flag, whatever, and she's looking around, before they leave to go back to America. See, they could have transported that scene here and had her standing in Lollybrook in front of Ellen's portrait that looks just like her. And, had her have some kind of facial recognition of, hey, she looks like me. Hey, these are my people.
Yes.
That would have been a great, addition, I guess.
Yeah. And if you think about how Jamie feels,
like how they like to replay things, like you're driving down the same road, that would have worked perfect.
Right.
So.
Yeah, Claire in Castle Leoch, right? In one century and then in another. All of these things that they try to juxtapose together. And there's that like idea that Jamie is so overwhelmed by seeing his Aunt Jocasta because of how she looks like. I mean, think about all of the ways they could have pulled that in. Yeah. And they just flat out didn't do it and instead gave us this incredibly boring, incredibly melodramatic soap opera storyline with a villain that we're done with. For the most part, she's extraneous at this point.
Well, and ridiculous. They set it up perfectly for her introducing herself as a Randall. They show these flashbacks of her having a dad who's a Randall, la 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 la. Then if they had gone to Lollybrook, she becomes a Fraser. Then they show her at the dock, blah, blah, blah. She could have said, I'm Brianna Fraser. And then we could have had this.
I thought she did in the book sign her name as Brianna Fraser. I thought
she does.
But they don't
Roger
show
found
that.
her by looking for Fraser, didn't he?
I'm pretty sure,
But they don't. They could have done it. They had it all there. They built up this emotion, and they could have delivered her off into this next chapter.
Why follow a playbook? It's too easy.
Julie in the comments gave us a very good comment. I'm pretty sure she's talking to me. She says that That's Normal could write an episode of Outlander, and obviously she means me. She does not. But thank you, Julie. I agree. I think that many on our team, not myself, would be great writers for Outlander.
Oh gosh. We've said it many times. There have been many times where we've sat and like rewritten an episode on Hangoutlander in a better way. And we only do this for an hour, you guys. I mean, how long does it take them to break episodes? How is there not a person in the writer's room that's like, hell no, we're not doing that. That doesn't make any sense for this character. Guys, we have to do something else. It doesn't take that long. What the fuck are they doing? So drunk.
The Outlander fandom was up in arms last season because they added Jamie telling Claire about Willie. This one minor change, and people lost their shit. So where are those people now? Because I am one of them. Her slamming those pearls down on the table, and saying, you tried to have my mother killed. That is one of my most favorite parts from the books. And I was waiting to see that in this episode.
Yeah.
And they completely cut it out.
Right.
And I am beside myself with anger. Like, where was the person?
If you want to
to
go
fight for
high
that.
drama, that's high drama.
Yes.
We need to relive Love's Lost from 3 seasons ago.
We don't need to see Leary pulling the warming pan out from her bed and Brianna being like, oh, wow, they really warm beds that way. How interesting. I mean, that was like,
read me a Bible
that was like
story.
a whole 5 minutes of the episode was her like being amazed at the warming pan. I have never in my life, they make the dumbest choices.
It
It's
feels
ridiculous.
like the writer's room is hamstrung by or tied to what they think fans want, and then being professional writers, and then whoever is having the final choice. Like they just can't figure out what to do. They're like, oh, we gotta please the fans.
They cannot have fans.
Adapt the
They
book.
cannot have a
Adapt
fan
the
in the
book.
room.
You have
I
one
swear.
job. Adapt
Or
the book.
you could have a fan in the room, but have someone who has a discerning knowledge of what the story is and what's important. Like if they had just read the book and had In the Water Weeds with Us, they could have been like, oh, that's important to that character.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't cut that.
Yeah.
That's trash. We should just, write around that.
They should know. I mean, and I don't know how much Diana's really involved, but they should know what's coming at some point, or at least the importance of something that's coming. And then, and it feels like they're disjointed. I think that's the biggest problem with their episodes. It feels like they're written for that moment only, or this season only. When even I know that there's reasons that certain characters make certain choices and are a certain way.
Diana's even said that recently, said that there are times when they make choices that she is unhappy with, and she knows that it's going to come back to bite them in the butt. Like they're going to have to make choices later in the future because they did something in season 2 that was stupid and that didn't flow. And for somebody like Diana to say that, who doesn't write with an outline and doesn't know what the heck she's doing half the time, like that's a big critique of the way that they do things. And I really think that they don't have somebody in the writer's room. I think that they have fans in the writer's room. I think that Meryl is a fan. I think that they don't have anybody in the writer's room who is fighting for the soul of, this is going to sound so bitchy, but they don't love Jamie. They don't love Jamie Fraser. Not the way that they should. Because every single one of us is sitting right here because he is pinnacle character. He's just the greatest. And I saw someone, and I'm sorry that I can't remember who it is. They were on Twitter, and I think I retweeted it. So you can go to my Twitter feed and get, that person's name so they can get their due. But like they had a picture of Frank and a picture of Jamie, and it just basically said a father who is willing to keep his daughter with him no matter what the cost, and then a father who's willing to do whatever he can to save his daughter no matter what it costs him. And that's the difference between Frank and Jamie. And they love Frank more than they love Jamie. And Jamie is he is the king of men. That character is fantastic in the minutia of the reason he does the things that he does. And he was maligned in this episode more than once, in more than one way, by more than one character. And his daughter is going to carry that with her into the next episode, so that when their first meeting is going to be tainted by the bullshit that happened in this episode. And that is, it is irresponsible writing. It's writing by people who do not love the character the way he is meant to be loved. And they don't do it with Claire necessarily. They don't do it with anybody else as much as they do it with Jamie. And I can't figure out why there's not anybody in there just fighting for the soul of the reason there's so many people that love these books.
Yeah.
There's
been a lot of comments, but Linda Brumfeld said half the writers do not read the books. They're mediocre TV writers. They don't respect Diana or fans. I don't know if you actually know if that's true or not. I would hope that they would read the books, but I mean, they may not, maybe not all of them. Maybe there's just a couple of them that are assigned to do that, and others are supposed to stay fresh or something. I don't know.
And Beth, I just retweeted that tweet that you were talking about, and I tagged Hangoutlander.
Good.
Trashy KT.
We can share it.
Trashy KT. But let's talk about Roger, because he is actually in this episode too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
barely.
I had beard back, so I noticed him.
I'm sorry. I have to bring up the fact that his hair grew into a ponytail in a voyage that would maybe take 6 to 8 weeks.
A 3-hour tour.
My hair, it does not.
Mm-mm.
No.
I'm
Yeah, they look
sorry.
the pirate. Yeah.
That
You
was
could-
a lame, we just have to get him in a wig moment.
You could watch like the In the Water Weeds episodes to now and like see how long my hair got. It was like this much difference. And that was a lot longer than 68 weeks. Just saying.
The worst. But he gets
go
he
ahead.
gets to meet Morag, his great grandma, and his
But does he know
grandpa.
that that's who she is?
He does eventually after she
Mhm.
says Morag Mackenzie, and he puts it all together.
But does the audience know
No,
who
I
Morag
didn't know.
Mackenzie is?
I didn't
That's a
remember that.
really good point, Lachey.
Will they ever know? Hopefully they will.
Hopefully by the fact that they just said, she said I'm the last name, they would get that, or at least make a jump or a leap.
I don't
But-
think
Because
they
that
could
was another
possibly.
me throwing up my hands like, I could see it on his face that he recognized her when she said her
Right.
name. But I'm like, I read the books. There are a lot of people who watch the show that don't read the books.
That's true.
So
So
they
I-
would have no clue of
Right.
what that meant because Claire and Roger never had the discussion of the fact that, hey, your ancestor is da 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 da, and you have the family tree, and
Yeah. And
No
then,
one
and I'm
knows.
a good example of that because I've read the books, but I forget everything. So I did recognize like, they have the same last name. That is what I thought. I
And
did
it's-
not
yeah.
recognize anything
Could
else.
it be a more common Scottish name?
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
I
like,
know
well, that's a coincidence.
17 girls named Mackenzie right now that like go to my kid's school. So I mean, could possibly be more common.
Right.
So,
Well, they should have, or at least had a moment of him like, oh, are you from blah, 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 to somehow qualify that they have a relation. And it would have helped build the fact that he's putting his life on the line to save essentially himself. Like, how would it have been like a Back to the Future moment? Would he have like held up a photo and he disappeared if they thrown the baby over? Like,
well,
I
and
was trying to figure that out too, because like
I definitely, because I was like, there's some reason he's saving her. Maybe this comes around later. I didn't think, because it's for him future. So I don't think that was clear.
It wasn't clear. But also in the book, at first, he doesn't know that either. I think he's saving. Or does he? Oh, no, he does know her name.
He knows who she is. Yeah,
Yeah, he knows her
actually,
name.
He recognizes her husband as the changeling that Claire told him about earlier.
Yeah.
He recognizes him, but of course, she has no husband on this boat, or else none that we see.
Andrea, I think she's responding about this, but she says that they did talk about it in episode 213. Wait.
oh, when they're doing all the research, and no one's gonna remember that. Come on.
Yeah, they should. It wasn't in like the recap for this week. I don't think.
I know,
it was.
right?
Yeah, I actually watched those because you know me.
But even
Apologize, y'all.
That's okay. I've had kids walking through here many
Oh my
Her
gosh.
husband in his underwear.
Hey, that only happened once.
That was a good time. I remember it forever.
But yeah, there's no reason for him to like. In the book, I think he also like he's attracted to her. Like he's talking about how pretty she is and stuff like that. So there's that reason as well, which is pretty gross. He kisses her in the end of the book too, or when they.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brittany just
Yeah,
said,
yes.
"Thank God he didn't kiss her." So he does in the books.
Would have been very weird.
I was worried that was gonna happen. I was like, please don't, because he didn't kiss Fiona. So I was like, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't make it weird. It's weird in the books. Don't make it weird on the show.
Yeah, we talked about it in the water reads. Like, why is Roger kissing every girl he comes across?
It's very odd.
Late in a while, guys. You're just horny.
Every
So-
married woman he sees, he's like, let's do this. Let's
He's
make
just
out.
friendly. It's just a kiss. Goodbye.
He's
Just a kiss on the
European.
mouth.
Exactly. You just adapt. Just adapts.
Let's talk about Stephen Bonnet, because
Yeah.
if there was one shining light in this episode, it was the fact that Ed Speleers, how do you say his last name? Speleers.
Speleers, but
Ed Speleers is excellent as
Yeah.
Stephen Bonnet. And I don't say that as like a bunch of weirdos who are like, I'm so strangely attracted to him. Like, stop,
No.
he's a rapist.
Yeah.
But like, he's such a sociopath. He does such a great job.
But no, I think he is charming and he's handsome. So I think that like helps. That it makes it so much creepier. And I'm really somebody reminded us of what's coming up, and we're not going to really talk about it here for to not spoil, but that it's going to happen during the Christmas episode more than likely, and that's just really terrible timing.
And I was
terrible
wondering because
timing.
the last big show he was in, he was really like goody two shoes, good boy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know if I could see him like that. No, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He is such a good villain. I wrote about in the recap. I was like, between him and Blackjack, they have cast some of the like most exciting to watch people on screen. Like anytime they're in the scene, you want to look at that character and see what they're going to do, how they're going to say the line, what little thing they're going to do with their hand. You know, they're just adding to it. And it like, if they can cast these kinds of people to be the villains, what the hell is happening with some of these other characters they're casting? Like,
Yeah.
Maybe it's just easier to be a villain. I think that, like, I mean, even if I remember, like, the season 1 press, every time somebody was like, if you could play another character, who would it be? And everybody was like, Blackjack. I mean, because it would be so much easier and
it's
better.
fun to be bad.
Right, to be the villain than it is to be the romantic hero, which is just difficult, I guess. But he's so great. And I mean, he pulled a like Jamie Lannister pushing that kid out the window.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
That was like directly episode
was-
1 in Game
yes.
of Thrones.
Yes.
That's the exact thing. I was like, hey, Jamie. Like I said it. I was
It's
like,
actually kind of cheesy that they did something like that was such a huge callback to like the biggest show in the world. Like everybody remembers that moment.
But
in
again,
Game of Thrones.
What I
We
liked
just-
afterwards is that her mom went straight after her. I was like, yeah.
That's her mama.
Yeah, me too.
That was pretty good.
Pretty
But we've already talked about the writers' room and how dysfunctional it is. So of course they're gonna be like, well, maybe not everyone watches Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, they probably haven't seen it themselves. They're probably like
We're so
totally not
busy
in any kind of
writing.
pop culture, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't even seen Game of
I
Thrones.
don't
I only
own a
read
TV.
books.
That's
I
my
only watch
favorite
Modern
thing people say.
Family. Modern Family's my favorite. Dummies. I bet they all do watch Modern Family and like Big Bang Theory. Losers.
Young Sheldon.
Young Sheldon.
What's that doctor? That doctor show, like where the kid's a genius. He's autistic and a doctor.
Oh yeah.
Stuff I would never watch. Anything on like regular.
Doogie Howser.
I was gonna
That's
say
one
they
in my
just
head.
watch old episodes of 2.5 Men. They don't even have current TV.
But we did see Stephen Bonnet with Claire's ring on his hand. And if you watch the preview for next week, Brianna is going to find it. And then I'm thinking, why did they do the thistle ring? Is she going to get that ring back? And then is Claire going to have them both?
She's gonna wear it
At
as a
this point,
necklace.
you
Maybe
just
they
can't
give it to
tell.
Brianna.
She's gonna be stacking them deep.
Yeah.
What was the point?
Yeah, that's what I don't get. I was like, why are we bringing this thistle ring around when we know the other ring's going to reappear eventually?
I actually thought the fact that Frank's ring was the one that she kept versus in the book, she loses Frank's ring. And Claire and Brianna sees Frank's ring instead. I
Right.
thought that they made the better choice because the ring from Jamie is very unique. And obviously Frank is just a plain old gold band, right? And so, of course, she's not going to necessarily, I always was like, she recognizes a plain gold band sitting on a gambling table. Like, that's so stupid.
Well, Diana made the terrible like leap that she saw the glint of the whatever was written inside the band. Like she has bionic vision from
Yeah.
across the pub to be
course
able
she
to
got
read
one
inside of a
sandwich
band.
with her. She can't read a like
Yeah.
that one PB.
Having the hideous like key ring was a better choice for her to notice because it's so unique, obviously.
Definitely.
But then why did they bother with the candlesticks and the thistle ring last week?
So that they can sell more merchandise. Hello.
I am baffled by this choice. If she's actually going to recognize that ring and it's going to actually be the reason that gets her on a Stephen Bonnet, because I figured they were going to bypass that altogether because it's so
I was
kind of
hoping.
far-fetched. I mean, it's far-fetched anyway that she would see a ring and figure it out. So I thought, oh, they're just not going to do that. It's going to be something else. And no, it's the fucking ring. So why did they do the thistle ring? They
Because
really
they had to bring in Murtaugh. That was like, there had to be some reason to bring him back. No, they did to fix the bit. Never mind. They didn't even need to do it.
No, they just had the wife that was trying to seduce Jamie in the doorway. No, my husband's
yeah.
at home. I like
Yeah,
to
there's
fix
just a lot of
candlesticks.
weird choices. And like, you just messed up some really expensive candlesticks for that ring.
I know. I want
Not
to
even
see
expensive,
candlestick.
but it's from his mom. I mean,
Yeah.
No, guys, We'll say it again. Please just call us. I'll go in the writer's room. I don't have a problem being there. Like, I need a job. I'll take a job. My kid's going to public school next year. I'm not going to be homeschooling much longer. Like, call me. I don't need to do.
All
You
the
need
time.
me. You need me. And I
Yes.
promise I'll be really nice. I'm nice in person and not drunk on the job.
No, not usually.
That's how it works.
I mean, I'm embarrassed for how bad it is sometimes and how like not forward thinking it is.
So
Yeah,
does
at this point,
anyone else?
I can't even.
Oh,
I don't know anymore. I just,
No.
on Twitter, Joe says probably Bree and Roger will get married with the stolen/returned ring.
Oh yeah, because they don't do the ring. Okay.
I did think about them like Claire letting her have the ring or something, or her having the ring and it being something that she gets.
But if she hates Jamie, why would she want it? And they set her up to hate him.
Right. And Heather says she's going to notice the ring, but not figure out who Ian is when she meets him. Come on. Like,
There's a lot of like selective memory happening. Like
how many peg leg guys are hanging out?
right. Like she's going to
Right.
be digging copper, pipe for bathrooms with flushing toilets soon at Fraser's Ridge, but yet she couldn't pack more sandwiches. Like they're just
Right.
not, that they're going to make her like the smartest person of all time when she gets there, but not now.
I even think that like I read some stuff like essentially she's not interested in finding Jamie once she gets to Wilmington. Like she's only interested
my
in getting to her
God.
mother. And so she's going to even kind of like treat him like shit as like,
Which
into-
is going to piss me off
The
even
hell
more
off.
than I am now.
right?
If they do that, I really hope the entire
my God.
fandom is like, you all need to take a seat. You need to take a time out. Your ideas are bad. Like
And
that's just
I would like to talk to the fans that are super happy every single week
Yeah.
and think
please.
things are great and get really mad at the people who have complaints and critiques. There's nothing, you're not a better fan than I am. I'm watching because I love it. I've been covering it for 5 fucking years because it's important to me. And like, I don't understand how you can be happy with everything. How do you not have a critical eye enough to go, you're treating Jamie Fraser like shit right now. You're literally dragging his name through the mud in this garden right now. That's what's happening right now. And not care. How do you not care? And how do you look at other fans and go, you just don't need to watch the show? We're watching the show because we want to see what happens in the show that we care about.
Well,
You're a
we
bunch of
want to
assholes.
see these specific scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, y'all would have went batshit if y'all did go batshit for one minor change to the print shop.
Yeah.
My favorite scene, or one of my favorite scenes in this book, was Brianna slamming down pearls. I really wanted to see that. I don't think it's wrong of me to express my disappointment that they
Right.
just cut it out, because I'm looking forward to that.
right.
That is why I'm watching.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if they are going to remove scenes that people think are pivotal or fans really like, it needs to be replaced with something that is really good and really important and moves the story. You don't just replace it to replace it or do something that you don't think is good. I think the other issue is they just get in there with this adaptation and they just don't think farther forward into what that storyline is going to be. And then we're sitting here talking about it. So
Yeah. I'm even worried now. I'm a little worried about the Myrta issue. I mean, they're making a big deal about it next week. And, the Myrta and the regulators versus Governor Tyrant. And I'm worried about what they're doing with this storyline now. I mean, I really wanted Myrta to be there for Jamie and to be this like father figure. And like, I like that he was going to still be around, but like now I'm worried that it's going to be super shitty. I have no idea where they're going.
It's completely destroying the timeline, of what happens with that whole regulator situation. The timeline will be completely thrown.
Yeah, because that doesn't
They're
happen
going to
until
have to
book
circle
5,
their
right?
way.
Yep.
They have to circle their way back to it, and I, for the life of me, can't figure out what they plan to do.
Well, they probably haven't thought about what they're going to do. I mean, let's be real. They haven't thought about what they're going to do. They don't know.
There are like lots of really great comments. If you're not on our YouTube, like that's where interactions like happening like crazy. And Nina just said a friend of hers who hasn't read the books has plenty of issues with the show. So it's not just the book readers. A couple of the other people were saying they're just catering to people who haven't read the books and think everything's great. So she's saying like that's not true. Nadine, I think that was your name. So yeah, here you are. She's the first episode in 4 seasons she absolutely hated. She said she's usually really forgiving, but like absolutely hated this one. So maybe we won't get hating comments this week. It seems like I haven't seen anybody really giving a secondary opinion.
We already got a hater that thought I was shitting on Laura Donnelly in the recap for no reason.
Oh, geez.
Who thought I didn't give Laura's play enough respect.
Do we need to kick in one more level of disapproval? I know Nikki, you wrote about it, but I was just looking through my notes to see if I mentioned anything. And Lizzie.
God.
Oh yeah, we have to talk about Lizzie.
That woman
like
was
a bodyguard.
Amazonian. She was an Amazonian giant.
Oh my God.
Compared to even Bree.
She looks like Jane.
Bree is supposed to be like 6 feet tall, and that would make
she
Lizzie
was a
like
full head
6'4".
above her.
She reminded me of Darcy Arden from The Good Place. But like, why didn't they just cast like a young girl, like a 13-year-old girl?
Like Joni?
Somebody owed somebody
what she's actually supposed to be. You know,
Yes,
I mean, she hasn't even gotten her period yet in the book. So
that's a great
it's
point.
true.
Oh yeah, she's supposed to be like 11.
Joni.
Like what the fuck?
It doesn't, it was, unless that woman, whoever she is, maybe she's going to be like the fucking best actress. She's going to be like, just kill it. And that's what I hope. But it was
like
just like,
Mary. Remember Mary from season 2?
No, where was she again?
Mary's giant eye, Mary.
Oh, yeah.
Mary Hawkins, is that her name?
No, do I
Yeah.
need to bring up my meme, my Mary Hawkins meme that I would bring up all the
God.
time?
Yes.
The lady from Saturday Night Live.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, that one.
it's like Lizzie's supposed to be small because she takes care of her. Like, I don't know. It was just like, oh, there's this huge bodyguard behind her.
I feel like she felt very motherly. Like I did like the interaction. I thought that Sophie did a great job. And like when she was like 2 tickets or whatever that kind of scene was. But yeah, I mean, it was like shocking that you're like, this is a crazy looking lady next door. Tall.
And
But I mean, the whole point of Bree agreeing to take her on, Lizzie on, is because she looked so helpless.
Yeah.
She's described as a puppy.
Yeah.
That was not a puppy.
No. She
That was
looked
a great
fine.
Dane.
The Great Dane.
And the thing is like, that is another executive producer decision, because when they were casting Lizzie, the casting, sides for Lizzie should have been 11 to 14-year-old girl, slight, small, frail, a waif, all of that kind of stuff. And instead it was just like, girl.
Sidekick.
Yeah. Sidekick that's going to go to America and like have adventures or whatever. And there's nothing about how she's supposed to be because they don't understand the character, because it informs all of the things that Lizzie does in the future. And they didn't give a shit. And so that's an executive producer decision. Like, even if you want to like blame casting, whoever they are, it's an executive producer decision that they didn't write what they're looking for in a better way.
Right.
She's supposed to be bashful for things that come up later. She's supposed to not be able to assert herself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that in this girl yet, at all. I can't imagine.
Mm-mm.
So
That woman was like a school marm who's like ready to chaperone and throw down. Like, she was not a sad weakling.
She wasn't even upset. They get on the boat and like Lizzie's like totally distraught to be leaving her father.
Mhm.
This girl just like walks straight on, and we don't even see her face at all. She didn't give a shit.
Yep.
She's going off to the new world where there aren't
Never to see
there's
those parents again.
nothing there. Like the new world is like, it'd be like if we like went and lived, I don't know, where is there nothing? But like somewhere where there's nothing. And she's like, bye. She didn't give a shit. She's
See you
not a
next
badger.
time. Deuces.
I'm so
Do you
nervous
think they're
for
just
next
gonna
week.
get rid of her?
I
Like
Is
they
it
did with
Lizzie?
those
You can't. I mean, I guess they could at this point in time. They can do anything, but
Yeah, but Lizzie's the catalyst to why what's his name?
Yes,
Roger
Lizzie's
gets
like-
shipped off to the Mohawk.
She goes on for a while, isn't she? In like the later books, doing shit.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Lizzie's like
Absolutely.
around for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm in six, and she's still there. She's still hanging on,
Oh no, she's there throughout.
and she
She's
still
there
gets the flare.
pretty much throughout.
What's
Oh,
the
she gets to
illness?
have a threesome with the twins. I haven't
Yep.
even read that yet.
Good on her.
I know about it.
Good on her. She still has flare. What is the illness that she got? Like typhoid
Malaria.
fever?
Malaria.
It still
Malaria.
flares up every once in a while.
Oh God.
Mhm.
The ultimate and thrilling storyline. Another Lizzie malaria spell. Jeez.
Mishmash 911 says we didn't get a goodbye from Ian Debris, but we did get an emotionless goodbye of Lizzie. Like the
Right.
things that they're showing us.
I know. Ian's pretty much like, you got this, girl. Okay, I'm not too worried. I'm not a fatherly gentleman who's worried about a woman in the 18th century. See you later, girl. And she's like, okay, I got my money, and this
Not
coat
only
is
that-
ostentatious.
But she's very much their blood of a dwindling family line. Like everyone's spread to the wilderness. So
Yeah.
What kills
Whatever.
me is that she looks dwarfed in that coat of Claire's, and she's supposed to be so much bigger than Claire, and she looks like
so
she's
bad.
again trying on mommy's clothes, and again casting. Figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
The coat looks
Yep.
just like a costume. I was like, oh, it's a Christmas episode. Like she
It
looks like
looks
a
so
prostitute.
good on Claire in the first season, and she looked so stupid in it.
I'm waiting for the comments that said, but Nikki, it was a costume. Straight from the costume department.
Literally a costume.
Oh,
Man.
jeez.
Y'all, next week is gonna suck so hard.
I think the rest of the season, I think this season has been a bust. It has been a total bust for me, at least.
I thought this
Yeah.
has been, on the whole, compared to season 3, a much better,
Yeah.
for the most part, 75% better than season 3. I'm now officially worried we're going to end up in the second half of season 3. We're going to have that again this year.
They did this thing where it kind of like went like this, and then now it's we're here, and then we're gonna cliff dive.
Yeah.
But I'm currently rewatching season 2 with my friend who hasn't read the books, and I'm sitting here. Don't get me wrong. I think we all know my deep, deep love for Stanley Weber, but I'm sitting there watching season 2, like, oh, this is so fantastic. This is like, why did I think this season was so bad?
Really?
Because now I have the foresight of season 3 and 4. And my friend's just looking at me like, what are you so giddy about? I'm like, nothing. Just keep watching.
It's so weird. It's like every season they nail like 3, maybe 4 episodes at the most. Like they just like they're dialed in. It's perfect. They get it. And then the rest is like, what is this trash? Like they just threw in, they slopped it on. They could just string together a season. Or
I picture like a big dartboard, and they're like, okay, this is what everyone wants to see. And we have 3 darts. Whichever one it hits, we're going to go with it. And the rest of it's just going to fly by the seat of our pants.
But then they don't even realize that there are things that people want. Like we've said this several times.
And
They
the consequences.
have bypassed the things that people wanted so many times. They do not get the emotional impact of some of the points in the book. Like Lachey's been talking about the pearls. We've talked about just the fucking scene, just the one line where he says you're slippery as waterweed. I mean, there's just the
fighting a bear,
fighting
which
the
would have
bear.
been so exciting.
Not the bear man.
The grotto at the end of season 1. Like there are so many moments that they do not get and that they don't put in. And then there are moments where they put them in and they shouldn't have. Like, I don't know, Fergus and Blackjack. Like,
Yeah, that was.
like there are just so many things where they feel like they need to put it in because that's what happened. And then you want to go, but you missed so much of the things that were important to what people remember when they read the books and what people care about when they read the books, and they just miss it all together. And I really feel like it is a matter of like who's in that writer's room and who's breaking these episodes and who's looking at the season as a whole and saying like, here are the connections between Brianna and Jamie, and here are the connections between Brianna and Frank, and here are the connections between Brianna and Claire and Jamie and Claire and Willie and Orla John. And here's how we're going to make sure that none of that is broken by some dumbass shit that we threw in here. They don't know.
But are they even doing that? But I don't even think they're doing that.
No, they're just they're going episode by episode by episode and just trying to make one episode. They are absolutely 100% not looking at character arcs at all. And they're definitely not looking at like one full thread of the season. Yeah. And you can tell by interviews, people ask them like, I'm spitting, I'm so drunk. People ask them like, remember like the beginning of the episode, this was up here, you guys. I had way too much wine. So they're not 100% in interviews. They're like, well, what is this season about? And they're like, it's about Jamie and Claire making a home together. And no, it isn't at all. That's not what it's about. Yes, they made a home. That's totally implausible, but that's not what the freaking season is about. You idiots. They don't have a fucking clue.
Yeah.
By the way, shouldn't Marcelly have the baby by now?
Yeah,
no,
we've left them.
I discussed this last week.
Wander.
I think she has like an elephant gestation where she's pregnant for 24 months.
Okay.
I think she's had Jermaine.
It suits the storyline better.
Leary did say he's the father of my grandson or grandchild. Yeah. So maybe she's already had Jermaine and had enough time for a letter to get to Leary and let her know.
And an entire house to be built on Fraser's Ridge. So the baby has to be born because there's an entire beautiful home.
Fergus sees Roger in Wilmington, so they're still in
I know. I'm just saying that Jamie built an entire house. It had to take him longer than the gestation of a baby.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's supposed to be a trial coming up at some point, and I know we're not going to get it. I already know it. But
or they're just going to show an entire trial.
She's supposed to have the baby by now. So. I'm just saying.
Or they're going to, in true Outlander writer's room fashion, do an entire episode about that trial in the room, and it's going to be the longest, most lame shit you watched.
Yeah, they could at this point. They absolutely could.
It feels like there's no one in the room who cares from season 1 to now, like how all of these people connect, how this story is working, what's going to happen, and because aren't they doing season 5 and 6? Didn't they already confirm?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There just needs to be someone, and obviously that's supposed to be the showrunner and the executive producers. But
then clearly I need to hop a flight and try to get in as an extra or an actor because they can clearly easily write me in. Maybe I'm Stephen Bonnet's long lost sister. I'm just going to show up.
You'll be the next
crazy.
Lizzie.
Yes.
Lizzie, they're just going to write her out right now.
Unfortunately, I'm not as frail. I think malaria might help my frailness, but I'm not willing to go that far.
I'm too drunk to say anything else.
Well, to all those people who are probably going to comment, and I hope you're being honest with yourself, and if you really did like the episode, that's great. But the thing is, you can be a fan and be critical. And you can point out things that don't make sense. You can point out things that you don't like or that don't go with the story that you know, and that's okay.
You can want better things you like.
Yeah, you can want better. And guess what? The show has to respond to us because we watch the show. If we don't watch the show, they don't make a show. So
it's true.
That's that.
Speaking of not watching the show, and not doing Hangoutlander next week. We're not going to do Hangoutlander next week. More than
Christmas Eve?
Yeah, Christmas Eve.
Crazy.
Yeah. I can't believe they're doing it. So they have new. Beth is like wasted.
I love Beth right now. She has her puppy dog face.
Yeah. So since they will have Outlander episodes the next 2 weeks, we are going to be busy. We are going to try to find time to do a hangout. We'll keep you updated. So obviously follow us on our feeds, and we'll let you know. We may be able to do it between Christmas and New Year's, but we're not sure yet.
It might be a pop-up.
Might be a pop-up, yeah. It could be a live because I might be seeing Beth. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided.
No, you're totally seeing me.
I have like approximately 12 hours I could do it, but maybe, yes. Okay. The 12 hours, I'm going to take 4 of them and drive down to Virginia and go see Beth. But I won't.
Yes, that's happening.
But Beth, you said you were going to be in my neighborhood. What the heck?
I'm not doing that. But yes, guys, just be prepared to find Hangoutlander when we can find time to have Hangoutlander.
Right.
Who knows when that's going to be?
Yeah.
Leave us a comment. Please go to our iTunes. That's where we need them more because YouTube's fine. Whatever. That's more important. We do put these on podcasts. The sound's terrible, so you can talk about that. That's fine. Give us 5 stars anyway.
Think about how much I talked about how awesome Jamie Fraser is today.
Yeah, it's true. 5 stars for Jamie Fraser. Think about
Yeah.
Jamie when you give us those stars.
Yeah.
And Beth sang. She sang for you people.
I did?
Tonight?
Yeah, you did like a hello. I don't sing.
Tonight?
But you did a very vocally, hello.
Sounds like Beth. I don't remember it,
Sounds
but
like
it does
Amy.
sound like Beth.
You did.
I mean, I'll sing now if you want me to. Becca's like, no, that enough.
Singing
Really?
for stars.
Christmas
Singing
time.
for stars. Yeah. Right.
Bring
But
a
Merry
torch,
Christmas
Jeanette Isabella.
for those of you who celebrate Christmas and those of you who celebrate the New Year. Happy New Year.
That's everybody, even the Jehovah's
You
Witnesses.
Grinches who celebrate New Year.
Even the Jehovah's Witnesses who celebrate New Year's, apparently.
We love you all.
Joining us, everyone. We love the show. We are critical of the show. So have a lovely holiday season. We'll see you real soon.
We love you guys. Good night. Oh, I'm supposed to stop the broadcast. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's you.
Bye.